Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're going to be doing an amplifier and subwoofer in this 2021 Ram 1500 Rebel. Now in this video we're going to show you how to integrate this amp and sub to the factory audio sound system. Let's get started. So here are the parts that we're going to go with for this install here today. First and foremost is the amp and sub that we're going with. We're doing this Pioneer GMD 8701. This comes with the bass knob here too as well. And to pair that up, we're going to go with some Digital Design, some DD Redline 8-inch woofers. Now these subwoofers are actually going to be in pairs, and the customer is actually building a custom box for it, so we don't actually have them mounted in a box. He does have one in the vehicle in a temporary box, but we will link our suggested boxes for this truck down in the description of the video. Now to integrate this amp and sub to the factory audio system, we need a couple of components here. First and foremost is a wiring kit. Now this is a New Concepts CCA kit. It's a 4-gauge amplifier wiring kit. If you're doing anything more than a Pioneer like this, we do suggest doing some sort of oxygen-free copper kit. Now because we are tapping into the factory audio system, there's a couple of ways to do that, and it also depends on the trim level of your vehicle. Our Ram Rebel does not have the Harman Kardon factory sound system, so we don't have to worry about integrating this system into that. However, you still need some sort of line out converter. Now there's a couple of versions of it out on the market. This is the one that we like to go with here on the channel. It's the PAC LP72. It's a digital line out converter that also produces a remote turn on wire for your amplifier. If you're worried about any sort of bass roll-off, or if you have the factory upgraded sound system, you can also consider the Audio Control LC2i. Also, as a third option, believe it or not, our Pioneer amplifier does have a built-in circuit and can take high-level inputs through the RCA inputs of our amplifier, because it has that built-in high-level, low-level line-out converter within the amp itself. So we're actually not going to install one of these today. We don't really need to, just because we're going to go directly with the amplifier. But again, if you're looking for better sound, more adjustability, we do suggest the LC2i. Finally, last couple of things here, we do have factory ANC, the active noise cancellation system within this truck. Most newer vehicles have that nowadays, and we need a bypass harness in order for us to not have any sort of crazy feedback in our new system because of the ANC module. So this is a bypass harness. It's the ANC CH01. Essentially here, this allows us to bypass that whole ANC system, so we don't have that annoying feedback or low bass tone coming out of our speakers with this new amplifier. Now to get our amp mounted, we found a great spot back behind, up underneath the rear seats, and we built an ABS little amp mount here, super basic shape here. We'll need to drill a little hole, and this will snag a bolt from one of the rear seatbelt bolts. We'll see how this will fit in and where we're going to mount our amplifier, but that is our start. So at this point of time, let's head over to the truck to start planning our wire run. We'll show you where the battery's at and how we're going to pass that wire from the battery engine compartment through the firewall into the cabin of the truck. Alright, so up underneath the hood here, our battery is located on the driver's side, right by the fender. Nice thing is, with our power terminal, which indicates with the red here, there's a nice battery bolt here that we can utilize for our amplifier wiring kit. Now we'll want to install the inline fuse that comes with the amplifier wiring kit as close to that terminal as possible, just to protect the run from the battery to the amplifier. We'll probably build a fuse mount out of some ABS plastic as well, and locate that, snag a bolt, have it somewhere close to that terminal as possible. Our factory grommet is right there back behind the battery there, and we will make a hole pass through that grommet into the truck itself. Alright, so on the passenger side here up underneath the rear seat, there is a really nice flat spot that we don't have anything here. Now there's usually a piece of carpet here. We actually, with the razor blade, made a nice straight cut and cut that out, and our amplifier is going to sit flat in this location, and that amp mount that we built is going to snag that bolt down there, so it's not going to move and slide around. So this is where we're going to wire everything to. Also, since we are tapping into the factory audio system, we don't have a factory sub in this vehicle, and so we're not going to be pulling audio from that factory sub. Instead, we're going to go ahead and pull apart the B pillar and snag signal from the rear door speaker. That's going to provide signal to the new amplifier. We'll run our wire up underneath this rear seat here. So that is our plan of attack. Let's head back underneath the hood and start pulling wire through the firewall. Alright, so we are ready to start pulling wire through the firewall. Now we have our notorious hanger that we use here on the channel, a little metal clothing hanger. Right down there, we already lubed it up with a ton of soap and water, but essentially that's your grommet that passes through the firewall. It's pretty robust except towards the center. Now you have to be extremely careful of any of the factory wiring going through that grommet. But we went off to the side, poked a little hole, and fed our hanger through. Then we'll show you what it looks like from the other side. Alright, so right there is where it does pass on through. You can see the other end of the hanger. Now right to the right of that, there is a hole, but that does require you to do a bit of cutting on the other side for that to pass on through. That factory hole is designated to pass wiring through, but we're going off to the side there. We poked our own hole, and we'll pull this end of the hanger through as we fish our wire into the cabin of the truck. So that is how we're going to feed our wire through using this hanger trick. And again, we're going to want to lube that up a lot with some soap and water. Alright, so you saw us pull that wire through the firewall. That's all inside now. And what we've done from there is we actually rounded it up, we split loomed it, and we just fished it through the fender along the factory loom. Comes out here, we built a little fuse holder out of ABS plastic there. It's nice and snug. And then this is going to loop up along with the factory wiring and go right to that positive post. We're doing it this way so our battery terminal cover can actually still clip in and protect our terminals a little bit better. We'll zip tie and make sure everything looks nice. But we split loomed it. We also put wire ferrules just to protect our wiring a little bit more, and use some heat shrink and some gaskets. So everything is nice and sturdy and done up underneath the hood. We'll hook this up as soon as the amplifier is all wired. For now, we'll just leave that as is. Everything goes through. Nice and split loom through that factory grommet. So essentially we're done under the hood except for hooking that up here at the very end. So there is our wire as it comes out from that grommet. Now we do need to pop some panels off here so we can run this underneath those panels, working our way back towards the rear seat area. Alright, so we continued our power wire, got the panel back on. This guy was a little tougher because it opens this way instead of this way, like the front. But we were able to get it through, ran our wire back along the seam, just put it back behind the rear wall carpet, up underneath, worked our way out, and there we are. Got a wire ferrule on, that's ready to go. And so really now, besides our hooking up our grounds, our main power and ground will be done. Let's head back to the bench to show you connections with our amplifier and ABS mount that we made out of plastic. Okay, so here at the bench, we went ahead and started preparing our amplifier. We got it mounted on our little ABS plastic sheet that we cut. We also got our speaker terminals all done. We used some wire ferrules on those as well. Got those all mounted. Got our little stubby ground. Now, we can go to the seatbelt bolt, or we can create our own ground. Totally up to you in your application. We're actually going to create our own ground here today using a nice 10mm bolt. And we just need to now hook up our power into the power terminal. We'll ground our amplifier. Now, you notice we're actually not doing a remote turn on wire. Our amplifier will turn itself on as soon as it senses audio coming over the RCA inputs from the high-level input adapter we're using from Pioneer. That's a really convenient way for us to actually turn on the amplifier when it senses audio over the factory sound system. If you didn't have that feature built into your amplifier, your line-out converter, or the one that we showed you at the beginning, that pack audio line-out converter, will generate that remote turn-on as soon as it detects audio over the sound system. You connect that remote turn-on from that line-out converter to the remote in of your amplifier. Now, speaking of our high-level input harness, because it is a Pioneer, it comes with this RCA that's to a speaker wire connection. Since we're doing a mono, we only really need just one channel of input, which we're going to snag from the passenger rear door from that B-pillar area. So we combined our two positives, our white and our red, and our two negatives together, just like so. We soldered on there, and we'll move heat shrink up under those connections. And then this wire, we're going to run all the way to the B-pillar on the passenger side. This is where we're going to tap into the factory audio sound system and pull that signal from that speaker wire. So let's go ahead and finish prepping this. We're going to get it installed on our amplifier. We've already prepped our holes here to zip tie it to our board as well. And we're getting pretty close here at the end. For our install today is this active noise canceling bypass harness, or ANC harness. Essentially here, PAC has created this harness because if you don't install one of these, that ANC is going to go crazy picking up those bass notes, and it's going to amplify that through the speaker, and you're going to have a low rumble all the time through your audio system. So this basically bypasses the ANC sound system, so you can add your own external amplifier, and it's 100% plug and play. Now, there's multiple places where yours could be, and most Ram trucks are up underneath the driver's side seat. So we're going to show you where that plugs on in here in a moment. This only works if you have the non-amplified version. If you have the amplified version, this does not fit your model. Now, one quick thing to note that we failed to mention in this video is if you don't want to tear apart the B-pillar for signal, you'll notice this ANC bypass harness has all your factory-based audio speakers and the speaker wire running through it. You'll notice on the white connector side to the black connector side, there's whites, greens, grays, and purples wire, twisted pairs. Those are your 4 speaker colors. The PAC line-out converter that we suggested at the beginning of the video has similar colors, and essentially you can tap into those whites and those grays with some T-taps or solder into those connections, and that line-out converter's yellow and black wire right into this harness to snag signal for your amplifier. This actually eliminates the need to totally disassemble the B-pillar, which we're going to show you anyways here in a few moments. So just a quick easy tip, if you want to use this ANC bypass harness to tap into the factory audio sound system for your line-out converter, totally do it, because the nice thing is you don't have to do anything to the factory audio. It's all right here, and you can modify this harness to make it work for your install at home. So quick thing to note, we wanted to bring this up that we realized after the fact should save you a lot of time in your install, and it's nice and easy, plug and play, should look nice and factory. So without further ado, let's go ahead and grab our harness here. We've read through our instructions, which is super important for you to do so. Let's get this thing plugged in. Okay, so under the driver's side seat here, we went ahead and found our ANC module, unplugged both harnesses out of this module here. Kind of looks like a factory amp, but it's the ANC module. And we plug both those harnesses into our plugs right there. And then the male end of our harness bypass plugs back into the ANC module. There's still a data connection. You can't just fully unplug it and leave it. You'll need to plug in the male end, just so it basically tricks the factory audio system thinking the ANC module is still here, when in reality it's not. It's bypassed. So we'll zip tie everything here to the factory loom. Everything's all plugged in. It only goes one way, so you can't screw this up. Make sure the vehicle is totally off when you do this bypass. But other than that, that is done. So with the B-pillar removed here on the passenger side, it gives us the access we need to tap into our factory speaker wire. You push in the little tab here in the top, push it down. This unplugs from the door. And in this bundle that we pulled the shielding off, we have two pairs of greens. Green with a light green stripe, and then green with a gray stripe. Gray stripe is negative, and light green stripe is a positive wire. We just stripped that back and soldered right onto that copper directly, so it's a nice clean connection. We've got our solder on there, and now we're going to wrap it with electrical tape, and then we're going to relume the harness with Testa tape just like factory, and that's going to pull our signal. Now, because our amplifier, again, has that built-in line-out converter, we don't actually have to add a line-out converter here, but if yours does not, which in most circumstances it probably doesn't have a line-out converter built in, you'll connect both positives of your line-out converter to the side with the light green stripe, and both negatives of your line-out converter with the side with the gray stripe. And then you'll connect your RCAs to that line-out converter and run that on down to the amplifier here. So that's our connections to snag signal for our amplifier. So again, we're going to relume this harness and get it all reinstalled. Now, one other thing, if your clips happen to stay in the B-pillar from your B-pillar cover, pop them on out, put them back on in, so it'll snap back into place when we reassemble the panel. All right, all nice and clean. We'll go plug this back in, reassemble our B-pillar cover. One last thing, if you want to know the other colors of the speaker wires in each door corner, we'll link those down in the description for you. Alrighty, so we got our amplifier all in. We got our power and ground. Everything's bolted into place. It snags that seatbelt bolt there. Looks awesome. Here's the ground we created. Super solid, nice and hefty little 10mm bolt you put in there. That carpet up and over that ground now. There's our amplifier, our speaker runs. We'll go out to the subwoofer box whenever it's built. For now, he has a temporary box built for one. Here's for the other. Again, we can link a box that'll fit this truck. Check the description, we'll have that info for a box for you. RCA/speaker wire and base knob wire goes up underneath, down, worked our way, and now you saw us pull off this pillar. Back here, up underneath the hood with the power and ground done on the amplifier, we went ahead and connected our power wire to that positive post on the positive terminal of our battery. So that's all in, everything's zip tied nice and clean and split loomed. Nice little solid fuse mount. Everything is done up underneath the hood, so we can put this back on and close the hood. So we got everything reassembled here, all nice and clean. We got our gain set with an SMD DD1 to the factory radio. This is the temporary solution customer brought us, so we got it hooked up with some 8-gauge connectors there, just so he can at least hear some audio. Got our amplifier all in. It's looking awesome. Got it all wiped down, got it all zip tied in there, and it is nice and snug, utilizing that factory bolt location. So with that all done, we are good to go. ANC harness is in. It sounds great. So at this point of time, that's about it for this install. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. We'll link all parts that we used down in the description, as well as recommended subs and box for this truck and any other various line out converters and such. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw. And don't forget to subscribe. We post great content on the channel all the time. And we'll see you in the next video.